For those of you who are asking about the 617, the injectors, if you notice the carbon buildup, these have about 300,000 miles on them, and it requires a 27 millimeter, and I just use a crescent wrench for the top. But I broke them loose. It's going to take a bit of force. Careful not to strip or you'll break these off. Inside of it, there's a handful of parts. You have a spring. It looks like a little hat. I don't know the exact specific names, but it's kind of tapered on one end and flat on the other. The nozzle, the base, and then the needle set. You notice that they're very, very carboned up. I don't know if you can see that from there, but the tip's black. And then the bottom, outside the top, takes a little bit to get out, but inside there, there's a shim. Hold on a second. There. Little shim like that. Careful to only do these one at a time, considering the fact that each shim is different wear, similar to a valve spring and such with lifter. So generally you have 2, 4, 6, 8 separate pieces. The best method I have found to get these cleaned out is just boil them. I boiled mine for about, let's say about an hour. Make sure you keep the water in it. Don't let it run dry or you'll burn stuff or wreck your pans. I don't know if you can see all the corrosion and buildup on these. Now I've been running veggie oil on these. Just straight veggie oil, and you can still start to see that it's starting to build up on it. And just rubbing it, it'll start coming off. But SVO, which means straight veggie oil, is a lot thicker than diesel. I mean, just doing this in my finger, I can feel crud. So I'm going to boil this one up for you and show you what a clean one looks like. So I added about 3-4 drops of Dawn dish soap to it just to help clean a little bit better. It's been on here for about 40 minutes so far. And as you can see, the water's kind of turned a murky color. Do be careful, as parts when they come out are going to be very, very hot. But you can already see that it's taking a lot of the crud off the injectors. When you take these out, wash them down with rubbing alcohol or acetone. It'll make the water flow off of it. It'll prevent flash rusting. If it does rust, then what will happen is the seats themselves won't seal 100% and you'll have leaking injectors. It'll cause the engine to continue running afterwards, or to what they call diesel, quote unquote, after you turn the engine off. Mine was doing it, it ran for about 30-40 seconds after I turned my engine off. Okay. So, I don't know how well you can see that, but that's after about an hour and a half of boiling. It came out nice and clean. The bottom of the injector also, the nozzle cap. And remember all the carbon that was built up. Now there's still a little bit of burn on there, but it shouldn't matter. It's clean inside and out. One thing to do is hold this end. We're putting this end up to a light. You should be able to see a tiny dot inside of it. A clear, perfect circle. Now, this is actually called a pressure pen. I found that out. I did a little Google. And then the intermediate disc. How clean it came. And then the needle itself. There'll always be a tiny bit of carbon after it's cooled off. Just go like this, or we use a small rag. Try not to bend or damage that. So the way you would reassemble these is this. You take the bottom of the barrel, put the top in there. Now, just to prevent rusting, I'm using a little bit of WD-40. It shouldn't affect the motor at all. It just prevents flash rusting in there. Carefully set that down in there, all the way to the bottom. and give it one little shot in there. It just helps lubricate it as you assemble it. Intermediate disc goes on top. Pressure pin. So you'll see that the needle backing is there. This will literally set and get it in there. It'll set in there like that. Set that down. The needle goes in, or the spring will go in on top of the needle. The intermediate, take the shim, give this a little spritz down there. Shim, drop it in there, make sure that it's flat in the bottom. Then carefully bring the two together and twist them. It'll make it a lot easier if you use WD, otherwise it's kind of a pain. It's just a small piece of rag. Get it finger tight. Now remember, there is a tiny bit of a pin sticking out of there, the needle itself. If you damage it, the injector will be screwed. You'll have to get new internals. So, that's the simplest way to clean them without sending them off to have them sonic cleaned. I mean, any average person can do it in their kitchen. Just make sure you don't damage the wife's pans. Alright, see how clean the water is? Same injector, same amount of parts in there. Okay? Clean water. I'm going to start this, I'm going to let it boil for about an hour. And then I'll come back and